All right, guys, that was wonderful. It's always good hearing the new stuff and stuff you're working on and kind of just the harmonization and everything. It's just great to hear you guys back together. Give them another round of applause, everybody.
Thank you.
So this week, I kind of changed up interview questions because I wanted to kind of cater to two young men here that kind of grew up with the music scene. So my first question is kind of how'd you find your local music scene and what kind of impact did it leave on you and how did it feel to kind of have a music scene to grow up in?
Yeah. So, yeah, you want to go? Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Aiden here in 6th grade was like, does anyone know how to play guitar in band? And I played for like probably 2 weeks at that point, but I lied and said like a year. And we started hanging out.
Which was fine. I didn't know it, like.
Yeah. So yeah, we started playing and hanging out after school, making music, and then Aiden showed me Burdock House.
First it was Creative Sanctuary.
Yeah.
So Creative Sanctuary, really cool place in Alexandria. Unfortunately, is not open anymore. But before there was Burdock House, we went and saw some bands at Creative Sanctuary and ran into a whole lot of people that we were going to know very well down the line at Burdock House.
I remember Katie Joe playing that show and being like amazed. I was, yeah.
But yeah, so then we made our way over to Burdock House. I think it was just all through Instagram. And I don't think we realized really what we had at the time. I think it was just this really awesome community here in Anderson with Burdock House and adjacent venues and house venues. We took advantage of it, but we didn't really know what we had until Burdock House went away, and we were like, oh, there's this there's a hole in the scene. But we were very appreciative.
Yeah, and being able to go to those places and just hear yourself play, but then hear other friends of yours play. And just talk about it after the show. I mean, most of the shows was just the bands and then like a few other people and then just listening to each other. And it was great, I wasn't complaining at all. I mean, I think it's just such a great opportunity to be opened, just to know each other in an intimate way like that. So that's what the scene was.
And also, we were really, even though we were very young, we were in middle school, going to these shows, even though we were that young, we were still felt very accepted.
Yeah.
And there weren't many times that people didn't make us feel bad about being there, or because we were so young. So.
So I know that really impacted you guys greatly, and that's kind of when I kind of came into the scene, going to Burdock House shows, and kind of signing bands and getting people airplay and stuff. Because I had you guys on the Nightly Special, and that was a thing on WCRD.
Yeah,
like
you guys coming
out. Yeah. Caleb would put together. I remember you took like a music stand to use. Yeah, it was just it was a makeshift acoustic set to kind of work to play kind of on air, and you guys came on. And one of the first impressions I kind of always remember from that night was not only your guys' song 2 More Years that Caleb wrote, because at the time it was 2 more years before he'd be 18. You guys kind of wrote that song about that. But another thing that stuck with me is when you guys did the David Bowie cover. And I think that was from Labyrinth, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And I just, usually I'm hit or miss on covers. But that kind of spoke to me. And then the stuff you guys were writing, in your first albums, when you did Waste of Space, and then you did stuff kind of going into the 2 More Years, and then after Goats to Sweden kind of broke up, you guys formed the new band, which is Galaxy News Radio, and that you went from being a 2-piece, occasionally a 3-piece, and Galaxy became about a 5-piece or so.
4-piece.
4-piece. Okay.
I think we tried to do a 5-piece at one point, but it just didn't work out.
So with all that experience and kind of growing up in the scene, how did that impact you as an artist and a person, and what contributions do you feel like you made to the scene, or how did the scene help you make contributions to the scene?
I mean, definitely what influenced me is seeing all the people, especially Greg James, who was recording all these shows initially, just doing the sound DIY. It just meant so much to go in there and be like, okay, someone actually cares,
Well, and how awesome for Greg to really be able to document an incredibly long history of the music scene in Anderson, and just have it up on his YouTube page and just making this deep archive. He's doing that today, which is awesome. He's been doing it for these second Mondays, and these it's just a wonderful thing to do.
He has over decades of live archival footage, and when we were starting this up, we came Greg, Jess, Katie, Levi. We were all here. Levi was showing us the space. Getting ready to kind of kick off when we start this up in August. So Greg and Jess and I, we went into Creatures afterwards. We're kind of sit talking, having a drink, and Greg was talking about how he wants to, as his impact, he wants to really put faith and hope and just help build up the new generation of music, and how it's like, the future is you guys right now. And he was talking to me and Jess, and like growing up in the scene, seeing you guys are the next wave, you guys are the next future. And I just think it's really cool how much passion he has put, and how that passion has inspired a lot of us to kind of continue our passion within the music scene and within our communities. So with that being said, I kind of want to talk a little bit how you, Aiden, have helped Greg run sound, kind of started doing that with him, and how Caleb and his family, and even Aiden's family, helped to put together the Shed, which was actually at Caleb Davis's house. They got this gorgeous property. They have really big, a couple of acres or more, and would host shows. And what was really cool about this space is you don't only have teenagers their age, 14, 16 years old, you also had their siblings. They had the parents. You even had the grandparents. So you had this whole generations, 30 to 40 people or more sometimes at a show, just all enjoying this nice collective DIY of local independent artists. So I kind of want you guys kind of dive into that a little bit.
There's a fun fact: the stage that we actually use for our Shed shows, it's repurposed from the old Burdock House stage. So when you play on that stage, you get to play on a little bit of the Burdock House, which is a fun little thing.
It's kind of a continuation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you can ask my mom and dad, I guess, or me, but if you want to have another show there, that'd be great. Getting together, playing music, that's what it's all about, Yeah. I think we both dove into the music production aspect of our careers, and at least for me, it was just that place of it means so much to be able to record and to be able to, create art in that way and give other people that freedom, So I think that's where I hope to, in the future, give more to, is record more people.
Do you think that the music scene you grew up with kind of helped guide you into the majoring now? Because I know you switched majors when you were going to Seattle, because you were doing like psychology or something, weren't you?
Yeah, I was doing psychology. I still might do music therapy, but I'm doing music production right now, kind of like mixing and stuff.
Okay.
I've been doing a lot of the Galaxy News Radio albums.
Yeah, and that stuff, some of the stuff you've been, because you mixed, I think, some of the earlier stuff that was released a little while ago, and I thought was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
That stuff, it was really cool, and just seeing the growth of you guys is just tremendous. So Aiden, with you, do you want to talk a little bit about like doing production and stuff with Greg and things?
Yeah, no, like going to Burdock House and we played an open mic first, and then we jumped on and to a show with Indian Old School. And that was our first show at the Burdock House, and I remember Greg just being so incredibly helpful and very nice to us, and just walking us through the process of what we need to get done to make the show happen, and it was really really awesome, and so that somewhat inspired me to start running sound for other DIY shows. I remember I ran sound for the Schoolhouse, which was a venue down in Indianapolis that the Pickett brothers ran. And it was a great, and it's so cathartic being able to be a part of the music without actually playing the music, and be kind of in, just be able to absorb the vibe of the room and try to translate that and uncover the sound.
So you guys are now kind of getting ready to go on your own journeys. With you moving to New York, Caleb going back to Seattle, you got like one more semester out of college.
Yeah.
So with this going, guys going on your own journeys, how do you think this will help you create and or join musical scenes and or communities where you guys will both be at?
I guess just having, knowing other people and spreading out in the community. I mean, for instance, like everyone here, we know them somewhat personally, and that's how we're able to, get a good show going, is because you invite people, So I feel like getting out there and meeting new people and being able to invite them into that kind of space where they can play music and have a good time,
I think it's this scene that we have here in Anderson and Muncie and the surrounding area and the people involved have set a really good example of what a scene should be and how people should be treated. I'm going to carry that with me, and that was instilled, obviously early, because I was hanging out with you guys since I was like 14, and so I have a really good idea of who I want to be around and who I don't want to be around, and who I want to support and who I don't want to support, because of their values and how they treat other people. So
I just think that's just wonderful to hear. I mean, the biggest thing about a community when you're trying to form one or be a part of one is treating everybody with respect. But also another thing that I always kind of tie in with the show, and as I did with my radio show, is, make your 1% count. I feel like in this world, we as humans have a 1% we can contribute to our life, to our society, to things. And no matter what it is, what we find our purpose for, it's we put the good things in this world, it's going to come back twice-fold. And I love to see you guys really making your impact with that. Is there anyone that you guys, or groups or people that you viewed as mentors that really helped you in some troubling times when you're trying to figure out your sound or like trying to get better? Was there any things that people really helped you or some stories with that?
Yeah. I mean, a band that I can think of immediately is Bloodlines. They're not around anymore, but I remember seeing Bloodlines for the first time, and I was just so inspired. I mean, they're amazing, And I was just like, that's something I want to that's something I want to do. That's something I want to help out.
And for those of you that might not know Bloodlines, that was one of Katie Joe's old projects that they started.
Mm-hmm. I think for me is especially Palmer, Pearson, Parker,
yeah.
all those guys, just looking up to them in Indian Old School, and like Parker would come and give us rides to shows, like when we we couldn't drive. He was like, I'm gonna drive you up to Muncie, and we're gonna go hang out and go to the show and have a good time. And it was great, but also we couldn't do it without our family and our parents supporting us in the things that we do too. So
that's one thing I kind of want to tie in was with both your guys' parents, with how much dedication they really showed to the scene. I remember going to the Shed shows, pulling up a little late after work when working at Belgian Horse or coming, when I was in college, and Todd and everybody would have this huge spread of food they put in to feed everyone. They'd have their friends over. You'd see a lawn chairs, people watching the stage. And we did a couple of festivals there. We did the James Fest last year and some other shows. And it was just cool just to see everyone from all different walks of life, from all different age groups, just kind of be a part of something. And that's what kind of led me to want to do stuff like this, seeing the community build. Because at my start, just like you guys, was from Creative Sanctuary. Yeah. I'd go write poetry with Parker, and I would also help Parker run a writer's workshop there. And that's where I met a lot of people like Pip, Indian Old School, Katie Joe, Macy Ann, all these people that are in the music scene today. And it's just great to see everyone's growth and what they're doing. One thing I want to talk about, and we touched on this a little bit without me saying the question, want to do a little deeper dive on it, is how can we, as a musical community, progress the arts and have artists and musicians flourish in Anderson or with what we're seeing you guys go on to in the future?
I guess trying to spread out the community, invite more people and really be a good listener. I feel like that's why we got partly into music production, is you can be on the other side and be like, hey, I see something in you, and I see there's a story to be told, Mm-hmm. So inviting people to be creative and inviting people to be open, and to come together is probably the best way.
I couldn't have said it better myself. What about you, Aiden? What are your thoughts on this?
I think there's something to be said about having consistency in the places where people can go and see live music, and venues like such as A-Town Center is having this consistent place where we know there are events going on and we can go and we can go out and have a good time. Maybe it's not every week, but we know that's available to us, and just reaching out to the whole community in that way. But just having that consistency of a venue, because with Burdock House for the 4 years that it ran, 3 to 4.
I think it was 3 to 4, maybe a little more.
It's just the scene was able to flourish because we had this consistent place to share our art.
And they had a lot of traveling bands and stuff too. I remember seeing in bands that I signed from Newark, Philadelphia, and played on the radio that kind of toured and played at Burdock House. I also got to see some great bands. I think you guys did too. You guys remember seeing the Dictionary scene?
Yeah.
Playing back then, or even Saba Banks, and I even had played some of their stuff, and they're really not a band anymore. I know Jordan Smith was trying to talk for a little bit, trying to get them to maybe do a comeback show or something, somebody doing a solo stuff. Yeah. But it's just really great just kind of seeing the scene flourish in that way. And one thing I want to talk about, and I think it's a big impact on you guys and how it kind of got you into the scene, is the difference between all ages venues. So we grew up with Creative Sanctuary, The Shed, Burdock House, is all ages, and then you got venues like Be Here Now, that's 18 plus, and then so forth, and then 21 and over bars. What do you think is good about all ages shows, or what do you think or is it better than 21 and over shows, or are there pros and cons to both? I kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah. I mean, we already got 21 and over venues everywhere. It's called a bar, I think that's, one of the importances of all ages places to hang out is because, it's not everywhere. And a lot of people don't know how to access that, or if it's a safe place that you could actually just show up at.
And when it's all ages, you're inspiring people to, to look up. You get mentored, you have people to look up to. Like, oh, this band's got a really cool sound. Or because you see this artist and you're just, picking around your own guitar, like, I want to start a band now because this local person inspired me.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially if you don't, as a young person, get to see bands that are within your sphere. You only see like the big touring headlining acts. That's obviously something that you can strive for if you really want to do that. But it's also really nice to see someone who's like kind of like in your sphere, on your level, who's like it's obtainable to be like, oh wow, I can be that tight. I didn't think that was something that like I could do. But like it's absolutely like something that like everyone can do to have a really tight sound. But it inspires you if you see it locally. So and then I think that with like all ages venues that is just obviously more apparent and younger and younger people can go in and see that.
What's one of your guys' top goals that you kind of want to accomplish, short term or long term, when you go back to Seattle, when you go to New York? What are some stuff that you guys want to put out there for yourselves or make your 1% count? Like what's kind of what you want to put out there, the vibes?
I have no clue. Maybe give as much or more than I receive. I don't know. A broad thing. Make more music,
Put
help
more
people
out,
when they need
help
it.
more people put more music in and so forth, kind of thing. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm a sound designer, composer. I also am an audio engineer and a musician with this wonderful guy right here. And so I think with this, like a lot of the things that I like to do is help facilitate and curate, more so facilitate good art and all art, and be able to be there to run sound and help support artists and people who are trying to tell narratives that are underrepresented. And that really need to be heard, and so helping facilitate that when some people don't have those types of skills is something that's really important to me. And thank you very much, Levi, for running the sound tonight, and for the video and the lights and everything. So thank you guys very much.
Give everybody a round of applause here. Everyone that's in attendance tonight, you're helping support a wonderful scene here. This is going to wrap up our interview questions for the night. Again, my name is Hunter Knight. This is Caleb and Aiden. Give another round of applause.
Thank you. Oh, and before we wrap up, I do want to mention some of you may know we've been in a band called Goats of Sweden previously. We still have a bunch of merch left over from that. So there's some free merch back there. Peruse it if you want. You can go and look up our music. I think it's on Bandcamp and Spotify. But we have a tip jar back there if you feel inclined. But it's all of it's free. So just please feel free to take some stickers, t-shirts, whatever. So.